protect yourself?
I was first raped violently.
Well, you're finished. You'll never play football again.
Obviously, shoe contracts worth $400,000 or $500,000.
Morals and ethics don't exist above and beyond the society that they're a part of.
Nowadays, kids are faced with the choice of do you want a couple of $1 million or your college degree?
Sport is a metaphor for what goes on in the real world.
Societies celebrate the exploits of their greatest athletes. Fame and athletic excellence provide sports celebrities a special place in our society. This special place provides the athlete with capabilities and opportunities which may be used for public and or private good. But athletes do not achieve their celebrity in a vacuum. A system of publicity and exposure provides the framework wherein celebrity can be achieved. Some companies utilize sports celebrities to market products and draw attention to their firms. Other companies specialize in marketing celebrities and assisting athletes in their attempt to achieve sports celebrity status. As we explore issues in sports and society, we may ask, what is celebrity? How is it achieved? We discuss these questions as well as ethics and management issues associated with sports celebrity at the Summit on Sports Ethics. Let's return to the summit and consider some of the concepts and viewpoints considered there.
It's an interesting process how we make celebrities out of people. And Michael Jordan, I think, is a celebrity, again, on the same order of, any of the top celebrities you'd normally associate with Hollywood. And that's the culture we live in. Bill Clinton's a celebrity. He's more a celebrity, I think, than a traditional president. He's a celebrity. We live in that culture. We want to know intricate details about people's lives. And, sports is one of the places where this has happened. Where we have these kind of ready-made personalities, and as a public, I think we love to indulge in those characters. They're characters. It's fascinating. That's one of the ways I think we let off steam. That's one of the ways we enjoy our lives. It's so integral, if you're a sports fan. And not even being a sports fan. I mean, my mother who, could care less about sports, she knows Michael Jordan, and she knows quite a bit about Michael Jordan. And she's, in some strange way, she's proud of him, I mean, she has no connection to him at all. But in some strange way, she's just happy to see this guy doing well. And for her, that's important. And I think there are a lot of other people like that. You look at somebody and you say, hey, this guy's doing well. And that's what we're all about, I think. At the end, that's what we should be about, is that kind of human, characteristic that, people have that we can just vibe off of. Is beautiful. I mean, it's really a beautiful thing. And you watch a guy in a sporting event, and this is what I love about sports. You got highs and lows, peaks and valleys. Somebody can be up 1 minute and down the next. Somebody can just, embarrass themselves with such a terrible mistake and come back the next second later and redeem them. I mean, it's life kind of encapsulated in the drama of the moment.
Primarily the focus now on sports is the revenue side of things. It seems to be, at least from the standpoint of the fans. When they look at sports and they talk about it, they wonder why the revenue is such a big portion of sports and what happened to the Ray Nitschkes and the people that used to play for the love of the game. And just look at what's going on. You look at corporations, which is probably at the heart of the spending against sports. Last year spent about $20 billion worldwide just on rights fees to buy properties, and then another 3 to 4 times that amount of money just to leverage what they have, whether it's athletes or Wimbledon or what have you. Networks, you look at the record rights fees that the NBA and NFL just received recently. The fact that NFL was able to do an $18 billion TV deal says something about the financial side of sports, and the fans kind of wonder, what's this all about? I just want to watch my game and love it. The pro teams are moving from one city to another, primarily because of the financial impact of being in one city, whether it's Cleveland moving to Baltimore or LA, both NFL teams moving out. The impact, again, is of those moves are primarily a function of revenue and where the owners can make the most revenue because they're buying teams for $200 million. Their most recent number floated for the Cleveland Browns new franchise, $500 million just to buy the franchise. So at the heart of all this turns out to be the athlete, which for better or for worse, they kind of bear the brunt and certainly the rewards, but also the brunt of what this whole thing is all about in sports. And as Miller said, I think overall the fans and the media start to put unrealistic goals on these people and make them into something that, an average human just cannot be. None of us could do what I think is expected of most of these athletes out there. And the fan rightly or wrongly believes that if a person's going to make $8 million a year, then he or she should act accordingly. And what they expect is win constantly, never lose, have a family life that's ideal in the meantime. And then as you walk out the door each day and the microphones and the cameras are stuck in your face, make sure you're the best role model for my kids along the way and never have an off day. And that's just, I think, unrealistic. And it focuses the athlete on being a superhuman.
When you get a charismatic talent who really understands working with the media, who is articulate, who has good values, I'm telling you, you've got something absolutely magical. Magic beyond magic.
In my end of the business, there are 5 basic factors that make or unmake athletes. And it also applies to coaches and even to executives like Pat Williams sitting over here too, and they're not exempt from the media glare. And the first of those factors is the on-field performance of the athlete, and that sets the table for everything else in terms of fans getting excited about a particular player and being able to make money off the field and things like that. The on-field performance has to be there. He has to be one of the best athletes at his particular position or in his particular sport. The second factor that's very intangible but is charisma. And it's very hard to define charisma, but I think everyone here knows it when they see it and knows when it's missing. I think Michael Jordan's a great example of that. There are many, many charismatic athletes, and that's turned into tremendous dollars for them over the years in terms of income in and outside of the game. The third factor would be attitude towards fans, and I think that's becoming more and more important as the dollars get larger and the athletes get richer quicker and things like that. I think the difference, what was discussed earlier by Gary about Ray Nitschke and players playing for the love of the game, is a lot of that is missing today. It's become big business, and somewhere along the line, the love and the passion that the athlete brought to the game, and when they first started to play and carried it through high school and maybe through college, does seem to dissipate or even disappear in a lot of cases. The fourth factor would be being on winning teams, consistently being on championship teams, especially in my end of the business. If you want to get endorsements, if you want to increase that income on the outside for the game, it has to come from being on a winning team. Here in America, we love a winner, and we want to be associated with the hottest team, the trendiest players, and that's why you see athletes come and go fairly quickly when it comes to endorsements on television, because you're not the flavor of the month anymore. Very few athletes are like Michael Jordan and can sustain the highest possible level year after year after year. And I think the final factor for my business is the proper representation, ethical representation, and the particular ethics or morals of the athlete that's involved, because we see time and time again, from Lawrence Taylor to Mike Tyson, you can just go down the list, but each athlete is a person like all of us, and they have different morals and different values, and those things really factor into what an athlete can do during his playing career off the field, but certainly afterwards. We come to see what type of person, what type of morals, values, and ethics this person has. And I think those are the 5 factors that influence what I do the most.
We have to recognize we live in a celebrity-based culture and economy. And this discussion really could be had not just about sports stars, but about politicians and entertainers. Fame is valued far more in this country than anonymity, for better or for worse, and that in itself could yield a very interesting discussion. Celebrity is really a commodity today, and its essence is essentially its commercial value, also for better or for worse. The other important environmental issue concerns the fact that sports is a business. A lot of people sort of get a chill when they either hear that or talk about it, but it is a fact in late 20th century America. Sports is a very big multi-billion-dollar business, and it's not just a business, it's really an entertainment business. People that work in the sports industry today, I think, would liken themselves more to people that work in Hollywood and the media industry than in anything else. It's not just about running a team, it's about participating in a very big and important, culturally important entertainment industry, which is really what sports has become. And it's an industry that places a premium on the value of celebrity. Third, athletes today really aren't just athletes. When I worked at the Sports Business Daily, we coined a phrase called the postmodern athlete. And that's really how I see athletes today. It's not just about what they do on the field, and obviously this is a generalization, and it's not just about their performance statistics. It's about their Q rating. It's about their ability to sell. It's about their ability to create a marketing vehicle, which many athletes aspire to become. And then finally, I think we're moving from a discovery model of celebrity to a breeding model of celebrity. And what that means is, I think there was a time, and it was certainly before my time, where entertainers and sports stars and celebrities were discovered, or at least that's the way popular myth would have it. I think today we're living in a world where you're looking for raw potential, not just as an athlete, but as a celebrity, and that potential as a marketer, as an endorser, is actively cultivated by an entire industry that exists to feed and grow this notion of celebrity.
Sports celebrity is a big business and a complete change in most people's lives. Athletes are transformed from ordinary people into icons and characters in a story which is much larger than themselves. Dr. Boyd, a professor of cinema and television, emphasizes the way sports celebrities seem to be dramatic characters in a story which most of society seems to have a great interest. Gary Jacobus identified the enormous corporate investments in sports franchises and claimed that celebrity athletes are critical to the success of the investments. Pat Williams, highly successful with the Orlando Magic and former general manager for the world champion Philadelphia 76ers, shared his experience of working with sports celebrities on a daily basis and how their presence changes the world around them. Robert Williams matches corporations with athletes. He shared his 5 characteristics that he sees as important for the successful marketing of an athlete as a celebrity. Jeffrey Pollack puts celebrities into a societal context where celebrity is a commodity and has value in itself. Celebrity is a major component of modern sports, and as such, celebrity has to be managed and its ethical aspects examined. How should we evaluate the societal and personal consequences of celebrity?
There were 2 incidents this summer. The camp incident, which amazingly enough was covered by a video that nobody was aware of, and the whole thing goes around the world. And then thereafter, Dennis held a birthday party in which there was some shooting that went on. I mean, it was not a good summer for Dennis Scott. And our reaction was just to deal with it up front. Dennis did make a public apology. But then it became very evident that it would be impossible for us and for Dennis to continue in Orlando. And we were able to trade him to Dallas, and where he's apparently been able to get a grip and start life again. He ended up going to Phoenix in mid-season, but Dennis needed a fresh start after that, and it would have been hard to continue the relationship in Orlando.
I think it also depends on the audience that you might be going after. You know, this is a nation that has a wide variety of tastes. And look at Dennis Rodman, for instance. Dennis is probably, one of the greatest, if not the greatest, rebounder in NBA history. Yet that is not what most people know him for. Most people know him for, his sort of bad boy image, which I happen to think was a very carefully crafted way of elevating his marketability. And to a lot of people, Dennis Rodman is absolutely reprehensible. The cross-dressing, the tattoos, the wild lifestyle, but to a whole bunch of other people, he's completely legitimate and someone that a lot of people find very appealing and interesting. And there are companies that have decided that his image as a bad boy is appropriate for marketing their product. But there are plenty of other companies that wouldn't go near him. And I guess, the irony of Dennis is that he's become so well known for this persona that's been created, and that in a way has eclipsed his incredible athletic ability and athletic performance. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think that that's okay. It doesn't mean that everyone has to have the same taste for it, but I think it's as legitimate as taking an athlete and simply building their celebrity based on nothing more than their on-the-court performance. But the fact is, today, in a very competitive commercial marketplace, I don't think it's enough just to have raw talent. I think you have to have talent plus some telegenic quality, plus some ability to sell. And again, I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
I think it goes back to what I was saying earlier. It all comes down to economics.
I mean, there are companies look for athletes that not only help deliver their message, but athletes that garner media attention on their own. And not every athlete does. There are a lot of very good, talented, anonymous professional athletes on a national level. Dennis is someone who is popular, infamous, all of it combined on a very national level.
Dennis's first book is the highest selling sports basketball book of all time, and I think that's a testimony to the number of people out there who are interested in him, or who think curious, or who think his behavior is okay. Like Jeff said, there's certainly many people out there who don't feel that way, but he's reached a level of superstardom where I think it's probably gone way beyond what he does on the basketball court. He's a fabulous basketball player, but he's another one of those media monsters, like an Agassi and like a Rodman and like a Deion Sanders, where the media exploits seem even bigger than the on-field performance. I could point to every good-looking athlete who has an endorsement, quote-unquote. You could point to another athlete who doesn't. So I think it's a factor, and it helps in certain situations, but it's not something that's necessary when it comes to men. Now, when it comes to women, I think there's still a double standard there, and I think that the looks factor, if you look strictly at female athletes, is much more important than it is for men. I don't think it's right, but I think that's a fact today.
I would speak with Martina Navratilova with IMG. Yeah. She chose to come out and say she was gay, and I wasn't there at the time, but it was a big debate back and forth. Should you do it? Should you not? When she did, she lost all her endorsements at the time.
And she's never really recovered.
And obviously that was different. I was just going to say, obviously that was different in a different period of time. But the Ellen thing, and whether you can argue that all day long. But I mean, still, here we are in 1998, and that was still like a huge thing for television. I mean, it was a long time ago, but I think today there would be maybe not as much backlash, but I would say the opportunities would be limited.
Well, and another example to demonstrate that all hope shouldn't be lost. Look at Magic Johnson. When he announced that he was HIV positive, who would have thought that, however many years later, he is the feature of an American Express commercial? And it really, I think, says something about a degree of maturity in the public consciousness in terms of celebrities and high-profile people who, at some point, wrongly were perceived to have some sort of social stigma. And to see that, obviously some progress is being made, not just in terms of accepting women as professional athletes, and it just, there's obviously some change going, I think a change for the better.
Athletes don't control their image. Other people do. And when you think about how athletes have been represented, athletic culture, the world that they come from, it's like everything else. There's a need to kind of fit it into a pigeonhole. And so it's hard to tell, I mean, the thing is, sports is drama in and of itself.
Celebrity, of course, means to celebrate, to glorify, to adore, to congratulate, to endorse, to favor. But there are lots of other things that are involved today in the nature of celebrities. We might, for example, begin by distinguishing among celebrity, on the one hand, notoriety on the other, infamy on the other, and so forth. Various kinds of personalities, various kinds of achievements, and various kinds of experiences have come to be classified under the rubric of celebrity. And I think it will be important for the panelists and for all of us to think a little bit about the variety of ways in which people come to be acknowledged as celebrities and how those different ways affect the impact which celebrity has upon our society. Celebrities, by and large, it seems to me, are creatures of the media. They're probably most significantly creatures of television, to some lesser extent, of other journalistic media. They're creatures of advertising and of corporate interests, and they are creatures of the teams and sports that they played for, and therefore they are artifacts. They are social creations, and as social creations they have tremendous impact on the character of our society and the way in which we understand it. The ethical questions this raises, and I hope we'll address some of these, and I'd like to just mention a few of them, are first of all the potential exploitation of the athletes themselves by the media, by commerce, by sports teams, by agents. This kind of exploitation is motivated by greed. It can sometimes lead to an objectification and a dehumanizing of the athletes themselves. It can reduce them to the creatures of those agencies who stand to exploit and to benefit by their celebrity. Of course, it can also result in exploitation by, not of, but by the athletes themselves, of those corrupting opportunities for wealth, for power, and for fame, which are, after all, scarce commodities in our society and ones which many people covet. But the result of that is often the denial of other benefits which the athletes might themselves get for self-development, for education, for humanitarian activity, and for their development of a fullness in their lives which may not be achievable as celebrities. And these obligations and responsibilities are in effect in a good society, in a fair society, in a society which seeks to elevate the status of its citizens, to return to the communities from which they came some of that moral and educational leadership which their influence puts them in a unique position to achieve. And I think the ability of celebrities to do that is a responsibility which we must hold them to, and which is a good aspect of the power which they have. And finally, one last note I want to make. It's an issue which came up in the movie Jerry Maguire, which turned out to be on television last night, which I saw again and might be relevant to our discussion. There's this wonderful scene where Jerry and Todd, the football player he champions, are walking out of a game and are testifying to their friendship with each other. And Jerry finally turns to him and he says, "You know why you're not doing better?" He says, "The reason you're not doing better is because you're not displaying on that field the kind of heart and the kind of commitment to the game which people really want to see."
How should we understand sports celebrity? And how should we manage the development, use, and demise of sports celebrity in particular cases? Dr. Miller Brown helped to distinguish celebrity from other sorts of fame and posed important ethical questions concerning the rights and responsibilities that accompany celebrity. Jeffrey Pollack stressed that different markets require different marketing vehicles. The bad boy images of some athletes are exactly what some advertisers are seeking. Pat Williams shared his experience of having an athlete on his team publicly dishonor himself so much that the athlete had to be traded away to another town. Todd Boyd pointed out how the athlete's image is often not controlled by the athlete, but is part of life's high drama. Sports celebrities may be found or they may be developed, but in either case, they have the capability to electrify a room and draw attention to issues, products, and causes. Sports celebrities may use these capabilities for the betterment or the detriment of society. The ability to influence people is a valuable commodity. Celebrity athletes can cash in on this ability in the commercial world, but they have a special ability to do great good in society as well. While society may not be able to compel athletes to be role models, the athletes do have a special position from which they can become an exemplar of the good person in addition to an exemplar of a good athlete. Should sports celebrities be held to higher standards than the rest of society? Are celebrity athletes obligated to do more than be marketing vehicles for consumer product companies? Share your views with us at the virtual summit on sports ethics on the internet at www.philosophylab.com. We welcome your participation.